Hey everyone, it's Mark. This is my recap for Pokemon Journeys episode 37. I'm back, it's nice to meet you, Alola. Ever since Ash left Alola to travel the world, we knew the day would come that he would finally make his return to the region where his second home is, and today was that day. I know a lot of people were excited about this episode because of how much they loved the Sun and Moon series, and the anime really fit a lot of stuff into this episode, so I'm going to do my best to touch on all of it without going on for too long. Let's get started. Quickly, just before we jump to the highlights, I want to mention that I put out a video last week that was an in-depth analysis about Ash and B's upcoming rematch, and I've gotten nothing but positive feedback for that video so far. I'm pretty proud of it, and I think you'll like it, so give it a chance to watch it. Go ahead and check that one out if you haven't yet, and now let's get into the highlights. The episode opens fairly regularly, with Ash and Go at the Cerise Park, and somehow Yamper found a leaf stone and gives it to them. Ash and Go agree to use it to evolve their Execute, so much for that whole Pokemon should only evolve when they want to thing from literally 2 episodes ago. Whatever. Go is impressed with his new Exeggutor, but Ash says he should check out an Alolan Exeggutor, and that's all it takes to convince our heroes to head off to Alola. Works for me. At some point, Ash must have called ahead to tell everyone he was coming back to Alola, because we wasted no time jumping right into his reunions with everyone. Professor Kukui picks them up from the airport, and Ash's eyes are literally gleaming just from seeing him again. Go steps in, and we see the start of this weird plot line throughout the episode where Go is not totally comfortable with everything going on, because Ash is being so friendly to people who are complete strangers to him. I guess this is like when your friend drags you out to a party and you don't know anyone there. Who am I kidding? I make Pokemon anime reviews on the internet. I'm not getting dragged out to any parties. Back at the professor's place, Burnett is there and so is their son, Lay, and Burnett introduces him to his big brother, Ash. Ash is a little thrown off by this name, but he doesn't exactly fight it. Then Ash meets the part of his Alolan family that I was waiting to see. All of his Alola team, minus Naganadel, of course. I was half expecting some kind of quick Naganadel or even Nevi reference in this episode, but instead we just stuck with Ash's team on hand at Kukui's place, who welcome Go and his Pokemon as well. They head out to go to the Pokemon school where Ash's classmates are having a welcoming party for them, and I thought one thing that they really did well in this episode that helped things move along and fit in as much as possible was that they didn't cross over too much stuff. We got this segment at Ash's house, and that was it for the professors and Lay. Obviously, we could have gotten a whole episode on just this alone, but I'm glad they kept it short and the episode moved along quickly. The animators must have missed having scenery as beautiful as Alola's, and we linger on the shot of the ocean, where Ash says nothing beats the sea of Alola. I get the feeling that if Ash ever retires and stops journeying all around the world, he may just stay in Alola permanently. He loves the place. Go catches a Pyukubuku, and we move on once again. The next scene is a real callback to Ash's welcome to Alola in the very first episode of the Sun and Moon series, starting with Go chasing a Grubbin through the forest. Speaking of being like Sun and Moon, I forgot to mention that there was heavy usage of the Sun and Moon soundtrack throughout this episode, which was a little weird to have the Journey's art style going alongside the Sun and Moon soundtrack. But the sounds of Alola were great to hear again, so I'm not complaining. Ash and Go got separated, and Go ends up getting knocked over a cliff and into the ocean, only to be fished up by Lana, making this her second most impressive catch besides, maybe that one time she fished up a freaking Kyogre? Anyways, Sandy helps Reboot over to their ride Lapras, and Lana kind of freaks out when she realizes Go is Ash's friend. By the way, since I just mentioned it for the first time this week, it's Raboot, not Reboot. Raboot. I just saw a dubbed episode of Journeys for the first time with the newly evolved Raboot in it, and I'm still getting used to how they pronounce that. Reboot sounds more natural to me, but obviously it's a rabbit, so it's Raboot, not Reboot. Alright, moving on. We get the most casual shot of Team Rocket's Alolan family, which by the way, Ash is clearly in sight at this point. How did Mimikyu and Pikachu not start going at it? Weird. Anyways, it's time for another reunion as Rotom Dex comes flying in, and we get a hilarious scene where it finds out that it got replaced by some phone, and demands some respect from it. No mention of Rotom Dex's work at the Aether Foundation, but no big deal. It tells Ash that everyone is already at the Pokemon school. Cut to Go getting interrogated by Ash's classmates. Again, he's very uncomfortable by all of this. Ash's classmates are definitely struggling to hold their excitement in at the thought of seeing Ash, and they can't really contain themselves in front of Go. I can only imagine the scene that we didn't see where Kukui must have told all of them the news that Ash was returning. Kiawe comes in and acts just as strangely, proclaiming himself Ash's rival and basically challenges Go, since he figures that he must be Ash's new rival. Again, I get that they're excited to see Ash, and Go isn't exactly the most sociable person ever, but this was a little awkward to me. Even Go's Pokemon are feeling overwhelmed by everything, and I'm surprised Sobble kept it together and didn't burst out into tears. Ash finally arrives and the party begins. Well, it's basically just a feast, and Ash brought all of his new Pokemon with him as well. I wish we could have seen a little more interaction between his Alola team and his Journeys team, but too bad. Also, it was a little strange to me that Kiawe's Charizard was the only Pokemon of Ash's classmates to not be there with everyone else, but I guess it always kind of rode the line between ride Pokemon and actual team member, so that may explain that. They start talking about people's dreams and updating us on how things have been going since the end of the Sun and Moon series. No word yet on how Kiawe's been up to in terms of traveling the world or training to become a Kala's kahuna, and no word as well on whether Lana's ocean survey was successful in finding Manaphy or not. Instead, Lana brings out a letter from Lily, and we get an update on their situation, and they're still searching for their father. This scene was important to me because sometimes in the anime, we'll get storylines and loose ends at the end of series with Ash's friends, and they aren't really followed up on in the future. Lana's ocean survey being one such example. However, that is way less important than this Lily's family searching for Mon's story, so I'm glad that it's still actually happening. Hopefully we revisit this story again somewhere down the line. By this point, Ash has had enough. It's been like a whole 2 hours that he's been back in Alola, and he hasn't challenged anyone to a battle yet, so he asks Kiawe if he wants to go. But Kiawe still has business with Go first, again calling him out as Ash's new rival. Kiawe and Go's Pokemon aren't really in the same mood as their trainers, and they're just making friends and eating Mallow's food together. We cut to their battle halfway through, with Turtonator seemingly in control against Raboot. Kiawe announces he's going to use his Z-move, and Go finally snaps and tells him off for calling him Ash's rival, but he doesn't back down and he tells Kiawe to bring it on. After a quick nod over to his Marowak, it's Inferno Overdrive time, and gosh, I really miss these over-the-top Z-move animations and screams. They were my favorite part of battles during Sun and Moon. Go clearly does not know what he's up against here, as he tries to counter Inferno Overdrive with a measly Ember attack, which rightly gets swallowed up by the fireball that's approaching them. Just before the move lands, Marowak swoops in and saves them, effectively ending the battle. Everyone seems surprised, but Ash is quick enough to realize that it was probably Kiawe's plan all along. He didn't actually want to end Go's life, he just wanted to prove a point. Go is not very pleased with what just happened, but Kiawe seems to have changed his tone, and the two make up, with Go agreeing to look after Ash, even if he isn't his rival. Go finally tells everyone his dream about catching every single Pokemon, and for some reason everyone crowds around him and applauds him. But at least everyone is friends now, and even Sobble, who seems at ease with Mallow taking care of it. How cute. The episode wraps up pretty quickly at this point, with Go catching an Alola and Exeggutor, presumably on Treasure Island, before they cut back to the Cerise Park, where Ash and Go promise to visit Alola again someday. Whew, that was a lot in just one episode. Kind of a rushed ending, okay, actually a really rushed ending, but what can you do? I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10 rating. I said in my preview from last week that I'm pretty sure they're going to try and fit a ton into this episode, so my expectations maybe weren't as high as some people's were. They did fit a ton into this episode, but like I mentioned during the review, I think they did a pretty good job at touching on a lot of stuff and keeping the episode moving. Sure, there were points that I wish they could have slowed down and fleshed out the moment more, but that's what future Alola episodes are for, right? I was actually surprised that this was such a Sun and Moon nostalgia trip, since I have the least amount of nostalgia for Sun and Moon. I mean, the series was literally still going on this time last year, but we still got full-on fan service this episode, even down to little things like seeing Team Rocket's Pokemon again. I wonder if we'll get similar episodes like this in the future, such as a full-on Lumio City reunion in the future, or maybe we'll just take Ash's friends on individually and meet them all in their own episodes. Who do you want to see Ash reunite with next? Let me know in the comments. Back to this episode, the list of stuff that we didn't get to see from this Alola episode is pretty small. I know a lot of people were excited for some big jaw-dropping reveal when Ash was going to reveal himself to be Alola's champion to Go, but it doesn't surprise me that this wasn't part of the episode at all. Ash isn't one to gloat, and it probably would have come up at this point already in the series if it was going to come up at all. I was surprised at how somehow Ash's big return to Alola kind of turned into a more Go-focused episode, and I already mentioned that I thought the storyline of him not getting along with Ash's classmates right away was a little awkward. It did lead to a good moment where Go really stood up for himself during his battle against Kiawe, and his line about having his future in his own hands really resonates with me personally, so I was a fan of it. To conclude this review section, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 because revisiting Alola was exciting. We got a little development such as Lay's introduction and the updates on Ash's classmates, but we also brushed over a lot of stuff and rushed to the finish really fast. This was a really fun episode, but not perfect. I wonder what will happen the next time they return to Alola. Let me know what you think will happen in the comments. The next episode is going to be based around one of Chloe's research projects, and it looks like Ash and Go, the professional research fellows, are going to make themselves heavily involved in this process. They mentioned the Science Museum, which I'm pretty sure is the place in Pewter City, and it looks like this will be a fossil-focused episode. We've had plenty of fossil-focused episodes in the past, and they're usually pretty good, so I'm excited for this one as well. Go gets his hands on what looks like an old amber at one point, so maybe he'll have an Aerodactyl by the end of the episode. Personally, I may be most excited about the character of the day that we saw, who looks like he may be the cousin of that one guy Ash and Go met while they were in Unova. Lastly, before I end this video, the anime announced that they're going to switch the air date of new episodes from Sundays back to Fridays. I'm totally in favor of this move as it fits my schedule way better. These reviews will go up on Friday evenings when that happens, which I believe starts in about 4 weeks. I feel like I end up saying the same thing all the time during this ending screen, so let's change that up. If you haven't watched my Pokemon music quiz video before, I'm linking it here as one of the suggested videos right now. This was the first quiz video I ever made, and I should have a new one coming out in a few days, so make sure you brush up on your Pokemon music knowledge. You're going to need it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, please like and subscribe, and let me hear your thoughts about this episode as well as my review in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.